Hi, so after I tested out the island exploration or expeditions or whatever you want to call it on Battle for Azeroth yesterday, I thought I'd go through my review now. So, in essence, let's first of all cover what you can expect when you go to the island. Now, the island expeditions are primarily for gathering Azerite. Azerite is going to be the new artifact power for Battle for Azeroth. It's I suppose another way of doing it alongside Mythic Plus Dungeons and all the other content that we've been used to in Legion. It's designed for 3 people, and you can absolutely do it with whatever 3 combinations. We tried it with 3 Rep Paladins yesterday, and none of the content was awkward until we split up. You inevitably keep trying to want to split up. Now, I'm not going to go over yet, because we can't possibly go over yet, what's the best way to do it. Is it always the best to stick as a group, or is it to stick loosely together, but each individual doing your own thing? Because absolutely what we found is a lot of the mobs you can definitely solo, even little groups like that you can solo, because we were just scaled to 120 bog standard gear. We didn't have like amazing gear or anything like that. And but then, of course, there are much tougher mobs where you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. And, of course, there's the opposite faction on there. Now, not necessarily players in terms of what we were practicing, of course, it was NPCs. This is one of the big things of Battle for Azeroth. You've got the smart NPCs. So, we did 3 different islands, and there were 3 different sets of them. So, we were playing as Alliance. In the first set, we basically were up against goblins. They were pretty straightforward for us. Now, of course, different classes and different role combinations might have an easier or harder time of it against certain groups. So for that one, yeah, we found that one very, very easy. The second one was the most difficult for us as Retribution Paladins, because it was basically Blood Elves. One of them seemed to be a Protection Paladin type thing, only with a charging all over the place, in mockery of the so-called wheelchair spec. But then there were also 2 Fire Mages. So they were blinking all over the place and moving all over the place. So, you know, that was as difficult as you could get, and yet we've still got the tools to be able to deal with that. When we were together, we were able to deal with them no problem at all. Hand of hint, you know, roots and slows and stuff like that. So that was okay. But if you got caught on your own, then you were in real trouble. And then the third type we came across was a bit of a mixture, really. There was an orc we were up against. You know, there was who was basically like, I don't know, he had a chain thing, a bit like outlaw rogues, but it seemed to be more of a warrior type. I don't know. There was like a hunter, definitely a hunter there, which is the one I was always on. And then there was a rogue, Sneaky Pete's, the one that was talked about at BlizzCon. He has a various crowd control effects, and he's not that sneaky actually, because one thing he will always do, especially when his mates are dead, if his mates are dead and he gets to low health, he will always vanish. All you need to do there is make sure you've got a quick AoE, and you'll get him back again, finish him off, no problem. Now, it was a little bit bugged. The way it's supposed to work is as follows. So, it's the first faction that gets to 6,000 Azerite. That's what you're aiming to do. Get to 6,000 Azerite, then you win. But the way to do that, first of all, mobs on the island will award Azerite. The big elite mobs will award more. There are chests around the island which will award Azerite. Enemy faction players, whether they be actual players or NPCs, they will also award Azerite. And they get a stacking like debuff, so the longer you leave them, the more Azerite they are worth. But there's also other things as well. There's like little events. For example, some of the ones we came across a cocoon, which had someone inside going, help me, help me. Now, we had to find a torch for that and set fire to the cocoon. Out they come, we got a load of Azerite. There was some soil on the beach where if you find a spade there, it was nowhere near it. You come across a spade, got the spade, you were able to dig it up. There was a chest in there from which you could get Azerite. What was the other one? There was a dwarf trapped in a cage, but you needed the key. So if you came across the key, you'd be able to unlock the cage, he'd bugger off, and you'd get some Azerite reward. There are a few other things as well. The one thing we couldn't work out how to get open, there was like someone trapped in like a Venus flytrap type thing, like a plant, carnivorous plant. We never come across anything to get them out of that one, but there's presumably something that gets them out of that one as well. So it's a case of just basically trying to go for the high value targets as much as possible. Also trying to keep a lid on the opposite faction, of course. And obviously the easiest way to do that is to kill those. Have to be a little bit careful of where you kill them. So obviously if you're killing them close to... obviously it's an island expedition, so you come on a boat, and so if you're killing the opposite faction players or NPCs near their boat, well, that's near where they spawn, they're likely to come straight out again and duff you over. So always better to try and lead them away so they've got longer to be able to travel back. It's the sort of thing that is going to be fun as long as we don't feel compelled to do it. Mythic Plus dungeons, which I keep saying are the great triumph of Legion, of all the new features that came to Legion, Mythic Plus really is the one that's a keeper. It's the one that is popular. And I distinguish between genuinely popular and just high participation. Because there's quite a lot of content that's high participation, but if people don't actually enjoy it, it's just that they feel compelled to do it. Whereas with Mythic Plus dungeons, they are actually quite fun. What took the edge off them a little bit for me was that you've got to do some. Now where we are in Legion, it's not so bad. You know, if you want, you know, what you should really do if you're really interested in keeping your gear up because you're a progress raider or something like that, then you should do at least 1 plus 15 a week. And that's all, you know. Even that, though, I resent a little bit because I have to do it. If it gets like that for the islands, again, that will take the shine off it. In particular, we have to remember that there's been various points in Legion where we've been encouraged, shall we say, to do a lot of Mythic Plus to get the artifact power in particular. In fact, early in the expansion, also the legendaries as well. Although, if we're honest and fair about this, there doesn't seem to be an equivalent of legendaries in Battle for Azeroth. It's all tied into the Azerite armor, so that should be okay. But in terms of the artifact power, which is going to become Azerite, then there's that worry as well. Are you going to be required to be doing too many of them? Now, when Warfronts come in, we know that they're going to be limited. We're not going to be able to do lots of those, but with the islands, of course, we are. That's something that I would like to hear what Blizzard have got to say about that in terms of turning people off because of the compulsion to run more than you'd really want to do. But if we just look at them as a piece of content in terms of what they are, it is really fun. People were talking about it harkening back to MOP when we had the 3-player scenarios. They are a lot more fun than the 3-player scenarios. It's 3 people, and the beauty of it, as I say, is you don't have to take a DPS, a tank, and a healer. We didn't. We took 3 melee DPS of all the same class as well. Obviously, you know, Retribution Paladins, in terms of solo specialists, we are, you know, pretty much at the top there. We're very good at that. I don't know what it would have been like if you took through rogues or something like that. But I'd be confident enough, without having tried any other combination, that you can take any 3 players of probably any 3 specs, although I'm not sure I would want to take 3 healers in, even though healers can do damage, of course. And you would still do okay. You would still be able to manage it. I also don't know to what extent the NPC behaviour changes according to the roles you take in. I mean, maybe there's some smart aspect to that. A bit like, I suppose, going back to Dungeons and Dragons days, where the Dungeon Master would take account of the players there. You're all there just to have a fun time at the end of the day. There's no point in giving you a problem to solve that your party can't possibly solve. The same may apply to the islands. So I don't think people will need worry too much about composition or anything silly like that. I hope that's going to be the case. From my initial impressions, I can see how that probably won't be the case. We'll worry about composition simply for dungeons and especially raids. So just to finish off, it is a lot of fun. It is varied. Each time you go in, it is going to be different because it's made up of lots of different kits of different, not only mobs and also other things that give you the large amount of Azerite, but also the opposite faction. And as I say, from what they said at BlizzCon, mostly with the islands, they're going to be those smart NPCs. The opposite faction are not actual players. However, there was suggested to be a version that could include other players as well as a PvP form, which I'm going to also say, just as a last thing, on the PvP front, that would make it a lot more interesting. I think if you're into PvP, you let me know yourself, because I'm not into PvP in this game. I am in some other games, but not this one. That, for me, would make it a lot more interesting. But that's my ideas anyway. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with other people who might be interested. And until next time, I'll see you later.